And it all comes down to a couple of things. And of all the successful people that I've met and had the privilege to meet, it comes down to attitude. And your attitude is something that you can control. There's a lot of things you can't control in your life, but attitude is the one thing that you can control in your life. You can decide to get up in the morning and have a smile on your face and be positive and go on with it, or you can decide to get dragged out of bed, walk in, how are you getting on? No bad. And then everybody run about you feels like that. But I don't feel that in this school. He's got a smile on his face. It's a positive place to be. And your attitude is going to determine your success and your happiness going forward. I'm guaranteeing it. And you can influence it. That's within your power to influence it. I've got this wee saying, which people don't really like when I'm speaking in educational establishments, but I like it. And it's I can is better than IQ. And all that means is, of course I would encourage you to get your qualifications, but the I can, if you think you can, then you can. Also, if you think you can, you probably can't. It's one of these things in life. But of all the people I've met, the thing that makes them stick out, whether it's a president or an entrepreneur, or a king or a queen or a head of state, is their attitude towards it. And they always surround themselves by great people as well, who are positive in their attitude as well. As I do travel about, and I've been lucky enough to travel in Africa with President Clinton, 42nd President of the United States of America. Have you all heard of Bill Clinton? What's he most famous for?
A certain scandal involving a certain woman.
That's right. Imagine we remember for that. He has done a few good things as well. But you're right, it is funny how some people remember him. And as I travelled around Africa with Bill Clinton, and you see abject poverty like you can't imagine, and I had the great privilege of discussing with him and saying to him, how does this all work? And he said, Tom, it's just a quirk of geography. A quirk of geography. That you were born in the west of Scotland, and that they were born, I think we might have been in Lesotho or South Africa, Mozambique, somewhere that day. They just said, that person just the same as you. It's a quirk of geography that they've been born there into their circumstances, and you were born there. And that's quite a thing to think about, you know. What it made me think was how lucky I was. You know, as I come back to my point, we can all wake up in the morning and think, oh well, if only this was happening, if only I could do that. Think how lucky we are. Because I must tell you, you don't want to wake up in some of the places I've been in Africa. You don't. But another big thing is happening, and it's all happening because of the internet, the mobile phone, and social media, is that maybe 20 years ago, these people who are born into abject poverty didn't know what they didn't have. But now they do. And I'm not putting up with it anymore. See what's happening in the Middle East, the Near East just now, in Libya, Egypt, Syria, Bahrain. People know what they don't have now. Through social media, you know, these people know, oh goodness, I could have a vote, and I could have better education, and I could have a voice, and they're not willing to put up with where they are just now. Now, the great news for you guys is you've got all these things. You've been brought up, and you're heaven blessed to be brought up in a place that's free, it's democratic, and it's got free education. And what an education. And I know probably most of you are thinking they're going, aye, right, Tom, what about this education? And it's only looking back that you'll appreciate that was was actually great, and there was a teacher in there, a few teachers that actually inspired me to do what I'm going to do. And I know you look at me with these faces today and you're going, "You're right." But I'm telling you. So the change in the world today is it's amazing, and the pace of change is only going to get faster. I want to just speak to you about an amazing guy I met, Professor Mohammed Yunus. And I met Yunus in Bangladesh, and actually brought him over to Glasgow. He got an honorary degree at Caldon. And you can Google Yunus. He's getting a bit of stick in the press just now because he's somebody who is not happy with the status quo. He's not going to let things be. Yunus was brought up in Bangladesh, poverty-stricken country. His family were well off by their standards, got a good education, became a university professor. But in about 73, he was fed up going into the university and espousing these great economic theories while his fellow countrymen were basically dying of starvation out of abject poverty. So he decided to do something about it. And he decided to go and investigate why was his country stuck in this poverty. And a couple of things about Bangladesh at this time. One, it was women didn't have any rights at that time, didn't have any legal rights. But it was the women who did most of the work. They were mainly illiterate. They could not speak to anybody without going through their husband, first of all. And Yunus had to go, but his researchers had to be women as well, because they wouldn't speak to a man. So what he found out was these women were working very hard in their villages, trying to eke out a living for their family. But there was middlemen in the way taking the profit. So they were making, arts and crafts and stuff like this. And he actually, with his economic mind, said, "Look, this is a credit problem. We need to get the middlemen out of the way. We need to lend to these women." But in a very classic way, if a Western bank looked at this problem, they would say, "Well, we're going to lend to a woman who has no legal rights, who can't read a contract, who can't sign up to what we're asking her to pay back, etc., etc. So why would we do this?" But he said, "I've got something that's stronger than a written contract. That's a contract between women in a village. Therefore, I'm going to lend to you. We're going to lend in groups of 5. And once you pay me back, I can lend to you. But if you don't pay me back, I'm not lending to her. Therefore, she's going to get you to say, you better give him the money back." So he just looked at it a different way. And he's probably the best entrepreneur I've ever come across. Come across a few. He's not the richest, but I think he's the best, because he looked at this challenge, and most banks would just say, "I'm giving up, I'm not lending to this." And he said, "No, I'm going to turn it round about, and I'm going to find something that binds these women together and is going to make sure we're going to get paid back." So he went and he got on with it, basically. And let me tell you some of this statistics. He started off because he couldn't get any bank to lend him the money to go and do what he was going to do. So he put $42 of his own money into this pool, and he began to lend to the women $2 at a time. $2 at a time. That was 1976. Today, Grameen Bank, which is what he founded, it's got 6.7 million borrowers, 98% of them women. It's made loans of about $6 billion, and the repayment rate, so how much you get back, is about 98.9%. That is much better than any Western bank. And he's also built it into the largest rural bank in Bangladesh. He then went on to found Grameen Phone, which is mobile phones. Because he basically said to these women, he loaned them the money, then he had a kit which was a mobile phone, a solar charger, and a business card. So these women went back to their villages, and the mobile phone is the biggest changer of democracy in these countries, because people can speak to each other. Whether it's through Facebook now or whatever it's through, the mobile phone is changing these democracies. And he started off this with these telephone ladies, he called them. And he's now got 260,000 phone ladies all over Bangladesh and Africa. And when I went to see him, he had just won the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. And he had to go to Oslo to receive it. And he was the only man on his board of directors. And the only way he said, I'm going, is if my board of directors, which are the women of the villages, will come with me. 17 of them. Now, these women had never been out of their villages, never mind into the capital of Bangladesh, Dhaka, never mind out of the country. He took them all, put them on a plane, took them to Oslo, and he didn't do the speech, because it's a huge thing. You know, Nobel Peace Prize is probably the highest accolade. And he didn't do the speech. He got one of the ladies to do the speech. And he said that was the proudest moment of his life. So when you're thinking about, oh well, don't know if I can do this, don't know if I can do that, think about Yunus, think about the ladies in the villages. Think about no rights, illiterate, can't speak to anybody apart from through their husbands. Come on, we've got it easy. So think about Yunus.